Hello, this is Omar, and this is the first video in a series of videos discussing tips, tricks, and features in Microsoft Excel. Our formula for today is VLookup. So let's get started. This video is made up of three quick parts. Part number one is to get data, analyze the data, and understand the data. Part number two is to go quickly on the formula, know the parameters that this formula support, and finally apply the formula and see the outcomes. In this video, you have two supporting files, the presentation that you are seeing over here, and secondly, the Excel file that I'll be operating on. So you can download that file and redo the exercise if you want to. So the Excel file is named as using lookup to fill values exercise. This file is made up of three sheets. Sheet number one is raw data. So it's basically a list of items and their corresponding categories. You have, let's say, oranges that map to a corresponding category produce. You have like milk mapping to dairy category, beef going to and mapping to meat category. So each item has a corresponding category. So moving on to sheet number two. In sheet number two, we have a small table classifying categories and mapping these categories to their corresponding aisles. So basically, when you are working in a store, this store has multiple aisles, and each aisle is, designated to have items of a certain category. Let's say, for example, all the dairy products will go in aisle number 5. All the meat products are found in aisle number 1. All the bakery stuff is found in aisle number 9. So the data that we have in hand in sheet number 2 is made up of items and categories, and our objective is to map these items into their corresponding aisles. Okay, so apparently we have in common this column, the category column, which is there in the master sheet mapping aisles and in our items sheet. So our objective is to fill the location column based on the category column. The formula, which is part number 2, VLookup, is a formula that takes 4 parameters. Parameter number 1 is what do you want to look up? What do we want to look up, which is the common column between our data and the corresponding data, the master data, which is in our case, the category. Parameter number 2, where do you want to look for it? So which table are we going to get the needed information from, which is our locations table. Parameter 3 is which column you want to display over here. So basically, our source is made up of multiple columns. We have to specify which column are we going to take and display in our data. We need the location column. So the column indexes start with 1 and gradually move accordingly. Okay, so it increases as much as columns as I have. And parameter number 4 is whether we want to link this data based on an approximate match or an exact match. And this is a Boolean value that accepts either true or false or 0 and 1. In our case, that would be an exact match. So let's go ahead and apply our formula on our data. So basically in sheet number 2, you have the categories that are mapping locations, and you have the item names where you would want to display locations based on the produce. So Definitely, it doesn't make like it's impractical to go and do it manually. Like, for example, you would say over here, this is aisle 2, this is aisle 2, this is aisle 5. So that's why the VLookup is comes in place. So to apply the VLookup, so we're going to say VLookup. So lookup value, which value we would want to look up in this table. So lookup value has to be mapped or something in common between the source and the destination. So in our case, it's this column, right? This is the column that is repeated in both tables. So I'm going to select the category field or value, then which table or array, that is our data source. So this is table 13 in our case is the data source. Again, column index. So which field are we going to display from? Which column are we going to get data? That would be location. Okay, so this is index 1 in the table, and this is index 2. So my value, my parameter will be index 2. I want this data. And finally, do we want approximate or exact match? That's in our case going to be an exact match. So let's close the, and there you go. So produce is aisle 2. So all you need to do now is to go to this corner and double click, and there you go. Just to verify, drinks is aisle 3. And that would be it. Stay tuned for more videos to come. Peace.